Okay, let's get started. Okay, well, Happy New Year. I hope everybody had a good New Year. I hope everybody got a lot of money and a lot of things like that so you can fly. All right, welcome to the March Aero Club January 2018 meeting. It's been another year, so here we are. I hope that everybody had a good time during the holidays and everything. I know I did. So, hi Sam.
Hi.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started. And typically what we do is that we introduce new people into the club, or stand up and tell about yourself and a little bit of what, you know, why did you join the club and things like that. So, let's see, I can see one guy that's new.
Is that me?
Yes,
There
sir.
it is. Stand up.
Stand
Hey,
up.
I'm Eric Brown, Marine Corps KC-130 pilot, stationed in 29 Palms now, in a non-flying billet, and I've resigned from the Marine Corps, so I'm going to apply for the airlines in April or May. So I'm here to get 100 hours as quick as I can. I'm shooting for a month. I got 25 this week. So.
You guys will fly.
Solid. I'm sorry? So yeah, that's me. So that's why I'm here. So I'm keeping planes at 29 Palms as much as these guys when I can steal them. So yeah, just maybe not see me that much because I fly out of there, but I'll be here swapping out planes, getting check rides and such. So.
Burn him, he's a witch!
Yeah. Welcome to the club. You might get a talking to tonight by some fellow Marines. Okay. Okay, anybody else? Let's see. Yes, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Dylan Walker. I'm a Civil Air Patrol cadet here in March, and I'm hoping to be like some of you guys.
You don't want to do that.
Sit down, let's talk.
And I welcome you to the club because we've had other, I'm going to say kids, but you got to understand the rest of us are old here.
Young adults.
Young adults, there you go. But I can tell that you're very enthusiastic in wanting to do this. And we've had some come in and the parents dragged them in. You know, and it's like, yeah, I want to fly, you know. But obviously you do. Okay, somebody else or anybody else that's new that has not been introduced. Emily, she hadn't been here for months, so she's almost like new. So,
George Watson back there is new.
George Watson.
George was a bigger friend of the safety team.
George hasn't been around for a year.
Yeah.
Good seeing you, George.
We have
Yeah,
our
time you
adults,
showed
we
up.
have our adults.
Definitely. Yeah, and Steve Frost hasn't been around for a while
What's
either.
your last month?
Oh, come on, you say that all the time. Well, you were here last month, yeah, that's true, but then before that. Anyhow, all right, anybody else? Gene, I do need to see you. Don't disappear on me at the end of the, yeah. It's about safety. No, it's about something else. Okay. All right. Anybody who's gotten in, this ranges from anywhere from anybody getting a checkout to doing a solo flight to getting their private pilot's license.
Or making their instrument ticket.
And their instrument, yeah, everything. All right, come on, stand up.
Instrument ticket. 4 months in the making.
Yes, and you worked hard at it. I'm telling you, you were sweating every time you come into that office.
He said the check ride was pretty easy from what I hear.
I know. Yeah, tell everybody what you said to me that time when I asked you about the check ride. You said you were disappointed. It wasn't as hard as you thought it was going to be.
I remember saying that.
Oh, you did say that.
That was Jason.
That's
Jason, oh, that's
Jason.
right.
That was
Jason
Jason.
said
That was
that
me.
too. Yeah.
Jerry is harder. Jerry and John are harder.
Actually, yes. Yeah, when I went up with Jerry back years ago, Jerry used to put me through things that I never thought I'd ever see again. Well, I didn't, because Jerry did everything harder and everything, but that's a good thing. Okay, anybody else?
I passed my CFI written, so.
You actually did pass, huh?
Yeah, barely, but I
Wow.
passed. It's over 70, that's all that matters.
Yeah, that's all that matters, yeah. All right, well, I know there's been other milestones by people in here. Yeah.
Kind of fine related, one reason I was gone. I just went to Wright-Patterson and got my first class medical.
All right. Okay. Well, we wanted to hear about that, because I know you were going over there for that.
Yeah, well, and so I went there for that, and then I flew down to Keesler to drive back from there to here with my dad.
Yeah.
But, well, my mom was supposed to switch halfway, and I couldn't get home. The flights were bad, and standby is pain. But I went to change of command, and the last Doolittle Raider was there.
Oh,
That
wow.
was really neat.
Oh, wow, that was really neat. I hope you got pictures of that.
No.
No.
I know we tried, but it
Oh.
got so busy at the end, and then he
Yeah,
disappeared on us. It was
Wow.
really neat.
that is neat. That's one of those once in a lifetime type things,
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, that's, Emily, now you were picked up by the Air Force, and what are you going into, do you know, or?
RPAs.
RPS, okay, okay. All
Hopefully,
right.
I'll be leaving in March, hopefully, for officer training school, but we'll see. It's been a very long process, so
Oh,
I wouldn't be surprised if I'm still here.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We're rooting for you, definitely. Okay, anybody else? Anything going on? I guess all the, Bob got some new radios in his airplane, didn't you?
No.
No? Oh.
We're gonna rip them out.
Well, all right, experiences, this is just something where you find out, where you can, as Michael knows, you can stand up and share. I don't think you have to worry about anything. The new safety officer that we have now, for flying, is a different guy than what we had before, you know. Now, the other guy's still the wing safety, but he doesn't come our meetings anymore. So, the new wing, or the new flying safety officer is, he's a pretty good guy. He knows something about general aviation, so. Okay, nobody had any exciting things happen to him, huh?
Recommend do not set the parking brake and.
It's good for doing donuts.
It does do a donut with the parking brake.
Yeah, it does. Okay, all right. Andrew,
That's what
are you,
I never
you
heard
have
that
nothing
before.
to share?
Saw it, I thought I'd use it.
Have you been off to lawyer school and all that stuff? You have nothing to... Okay. All right, we'll talk to the Aero Club manager. Okay, tonight is going to be, it's going to be kind of dull. It's not really going to be exciting, not like it was with Darren. But it's kind of one of these things, the Air Force likes to see us at least do once a year, or every other year, or whatever, to do a kind of an overview of what our SOP does and talks about in safety. There are some things, I get questions all the time about things, you know, because we try to cover as much as we can during the regular safety meetings, but sometimes, you know, there is an overlap sometimes, but sometimes it doesn't in depth cover certain items that do need to be going over. And so that's kind of basically what tonight is dedicated to. It's just those peripheral items that are under safety and they can get you in trouble just as fast, but there are things that we oftentimes don't think about. So that's what the safety meeting is going to be tonight. Let's see. Okay, I guess the next thing is have the Aero Club manager talk to us, whoever he is. Oh, that's right, it's Bob. And we've We also have the airfield, you know, the ATC back here, we got Mr. Maramoto here too, but, they didn't really have anything to say tonight, so.
They're gonna take it all in from the back row.
Yeah, they're sitting in the, way in the back, you know, I think they fall asleep or something.
We're holding the wall up.
They're holding the wall up, yeah. So, Bob. the floor.
Everybody sign the roster? Any maintenance, ops, or safety representatives here? Okay, that's all I care about, thank you. Wish you all before is a happy new year. Got a few things here. With the gas hose, you notice that the nozzle cover is kind of ripped off, it's from dragging on the ground. So try and bring the nozzle back up to where the pump is itself, you can hang it on the crossbar, and then let the hose reel in as best you can in regards to that. I have to order a new cover for that thing, I guess it's been on for about 5 years. Still going to talk about cleaning aircraft. That includes not only windscreens, but also the fuselage itself, mostly on the T-41 Alphas. Credit cards. If you get a credit card, please call Roger to update that. Our costs increase when we have to spend our time, Roger has to spend time calling people to ensure that the credit card has either been renewed or when it's expired, as a new number come back into him for the dues. So this month, we're already over $1,000 in the hole in regards to dues that are due to that. It's about $1,500 with Roger. And if we put it in now, it ends up next month. So when it comes down to graphics, it shows us with a big insecurity form of up and downs and trying to stay level in regards to the dues that are in there. So try and do that. And I want everybody to understand that there's a the rules and regulations allow us to attach fees to credit cards. We really don't like to do that. But when you look at the amount of time that goes in to try and get the collections back up to date for the dues for the month, even though regulations say that you can be expelled from the club after 90 days, it's that time frame and that management. There's only 2 of us right now, and it's always been that way. And we don't get out of the office much. We kind of get confined to the computers. So give them a help, and there may be some fees attached in the future. We're not sure how we want to work this yet. We don't want it to go to collections at 90 days. We've never done that. I think there's only one person that went to collections, and both of us have been here for over 12 years. 555, I forgot to ask, the ICS, is it working?
Kind of, sort of.
Sort of?
It's still doing it. I mean, it was usable, but it still has a problem. Once you get airborne, the static is there.
5.6.
5.6.
Was it 5.5 or 5.6?
5.6.
5.6.
Was it 5.6 you changed it out?
5.6.
5.6, yeah.
That's in 5.6, okay. Okay, on 5.7, we finally got the council to give an okay through the email. Now it's to get the contract made up. I've gone to 2 emails with Nadine, who's back in Randolph. Once she gets that, we're hoping we can get it by the end of the month, end of this week, excuse me. Once we do that, we'll pick up the propeller. 5.7, I'm looking at having it up next week. So we'll make the Palm Springs thing with at least 3 airplanes. But also I want everybody to understand that coming February the 1st, 03 November, and 986, the 182, both will have 100 and annual inspections due. So those 2 aircraft are going to be down for a little bit of time. So for planning purposes, it's going to be a little bit tough. But we'll do the best we can in keeping those aircraft going for everybody and maintain it. The other question I have is, I want to put it out to you, is that when you see because we get so busy we forget about certain things, when you're on the computer and it says you got 5 hours or 3 hours or a couple hours left down to the 50-hour oil change, tell one of the 2 of us so we can get a hold of maintenance and have them get that airplane in. We may have to take it offline for a schedule, but we're beginning to overfly the 50 hours. And even though it's not a FAA regulation, we like to get the oil change either at 50 or before that, especially with some of these that don't have oil filters attached to those engines, and we just use them to screen. Most of those are the T41As. So help us out when you see those things, so we don't get in the computer a lot and double check it. We try and keep it up the best we can, but sometimes that computer in the back room keeps us tied in there for 8 hours. We feel like we're a mole in a hole just doing the accounting work or doing something else. Like this morning, I spent most of my time just looking for parts. So it's time consuming, so help us out. And that's all I got. Enjoy.
Just real small, quick note, on the dues, this month, for some reason, it was unusually high. It was about $1,500 in the whole of our cards bounced. And I can guarantee 90% of it's because, you know, I noticed a lot of people have been having compromised cards. And in some cases, you may not even know yourself until the bank lets you know, or something like that. Just try to keep up, just try to remember us here, because I gotta run it again, you know, when your card comes through, and again, the bank loves to charge those fees, every time we run a card. So try to do that. What Bob was talking about charging any kind of fees, Air Force has been trying to tell me to do that for years. I call them up and they tell me, so you need to be charging, you know, for late dues, you know. And I just been resisting it, totally just, you know, like, no. And it doesn't mean like you get 1 month where it goes over, maybe even 2 months. I give most of you the benefit of the doubt. Most of you, when I run it again the second time, it goes through. It has to do when it hits that 90-day mark. As far as Air Force is concerned, I'm supposed to be kicking you out of the club. I have not been doing that. Bob yells at me and says, "You need to do that." And I said, "Well, no, there's some, I know most of you people. Most of you I don't even want to talk about kicking out of the club at all. But there are some people where I send emails out to and I never get an answer back, and I try to call them, they never call back. And those are the ones that, you know, I can charge a fee, but if I can never get a good credit card, of course we'll never get our money back. However, we are fully 100% authorized to run it on your taxes. We can do that. And all it takes is for me to just send it off to Air Force headquarters, and that next year you will see it on your taxes. We actually did it for 3 people, and one of them actually came on the phone about 8 months later and said, "Wow, I totally forgot all about you guys." And he was really apologetic about the whole thing. He says, "I saw it on my taxes on there, you know, and it says Aero Club under services, U.S. Air Force." And he just, you know, and he says, "Oh, you know, gosh, you know," and of course we got our money out of it because they collect the whole thing. But he actually came back and rejoined the club. The other 2 guys we never heard of again. Never heard from them again. But you know, we would rather not do that. Outdoor Rec over here, where you rent trailers and stuff, they also have the authority to do that same thing when people don't pay them for rentals, or the rentals for parking their trailers down there. So they try not to get to that collections end of it. That's the last resort. But just to let you know, you guys, all you guys, you know, most of you just want to fly an airplane, you know, and that's what we want to do too. And but the dues do support the club. If it wasn't for those dues, we wouldn't make that line. Because if you look at our bottom line, which we get end of every month, typically, if dues did not come in, we would not make over the line for, you know, we'd be in the negative. So sometimes we already are, but that's only because of the flying. We did drop a lot in December, quite a bit. But right now, they're still showing a positive, right? They're still showing a profit.
Still showing a
Yeah.
positive.
This month has been slow, been really, really slow. Now, of course, we got one guy over here, if he keeps flying like he is, we'll do okay. But most of you guys have been doing a lot of good flying. I really, really encourage you guys and really congratulate you guys for the fact that you haven't been just going out and jumping the airplane and doing 3 touch and goes and going back in. You guys have actually have been going out and doing some real flying. And that's the way to learn, Sam. As now that you can solo.
I can tell by the annuals and the 100 hours coming up to 50 hours.
Yeah, yes. The 100 hours is a pain in the neck, but I'll tell you what, keep it up, because when we see those 100 hours coming around like a cycle real quick, that means that you guys are flying. And that also means that the Aero Club is going to be in the positive. And because they're looking for every excuse in the world to close the Aero Clubs. They really are. Air Force doesn't want them anymore because they lost the corporate memory of what the purpose was of the Aero Clubs. And it's unfortunate that that's happened.
They're already looking at closing Kadena, the rumor is. And Kadena's been a positive Aero Club in Japan for years. In fact, all of his aircraft with new paint have dragons on them, which they found through decals. And he shows them up at all of the Japanese festivities, and those Japanese people just go crazy because each dragon means something to them. But there's been a lot of pressure on the Aero Clubs, and right now, we've had years of bad luck, if I can do it. If it wasn't for General Ball and the MOA we had with the UAVs for something that actually started off fairly well and then kind of fell through as the time went on because of aircraft changes with the UAVs. That was one positive year. Right now, for the last rolling 12 months, we're showing 69,000 in the plus. However, our income on the positive rate for December was $932. So it's dropped off, and we understand that winds and weather cause a lot of problems with restrictions in regards to solo pilots and students. But overall, the club has done very well, and I really do appreciate all the inputs and the flying that the club has done. But like Roger says, it's pretty tough to keep that positive attitude going and keeping that profit margin going. At least the general was off my back. Felt pretty good.
Yeah, we actually had we had one 2-star actually stand there and go, Aero Club is actually making money?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah, but,
And what's another thing that's interesting is that Edwards sent over here, they came on Tuesday or Wednesday last week?
yeah, it was like last
Wednesday, they sent all of the flight services and the welfare system over. And the base commander for Edwards now is looking for T-34s because he's familiar with what March has been doing for numerous years in formation flying and flying the cemetery and parades and doing various festivities. Now he's shopping for T-34s and wants to start it over there. Where he's going to find them, I have no idea.
Got some in the hangar in the back.
yeah, I told him
You
about
just
it.
got to put them
Yeah, I
back
told him.
together. That's all. If you can put them back together, you can
Yeah.
probably take a couple of them out of there. But right now, it's a parts bin for us, and we've got enough parts to probably keep the club going for 20 years, except for engines, and that's my next worry because these dry-sumped engines just don't last forever, and I'm hoping that Continental will take and start reproducing some cylinders that are angled valve versus a straight valve system. The T-34s have an angled push rod, and that's one of the problems we have why we can't use a 225 cylinder on the present engines that we have today, where if I had a Beechcraft, an E225, that's a straight push rod system, and cylinders are readily available. So they only produce them once in a blue moon, and everybody wants to buy them up in a hurry. So, but anyway, that'll just give you an idea of how what we're trying to do, and the profit margin we're trying to hold. At least we're in the black. It doesn't make any difference whether it's $1 or a couple $1,000s. It's in the black, and that's what they're looking at. And if we can just maintain that momentum, I've got a couple other programs I'm looking at for February and March for increase in the membership again, similar to what got us started in August with the 3 months free dues and FAM flights. I'm looking at February, March as a possibility of doing a FAM flight, 1 month of free with a challenge coin. So it's just the various incentives that we can maybe drive people into the club. And as far as the Civil Air Patrol with our young cadet that just joined here from Squadron 45 here on the base, we have 32 members that are Civil Air Patrol members, and all those members are actually flying. So that's really a pretty good percentage, Thank you.
All right, thanks, Bob. Okay, any questions so far?
If Cadena closes up, can we get a couple of their aircraft?
Yeah, that's my,
Yeah.
dragons and all.
Unrelated to any of that, I know that April 7, 8, we have an air show coming up here in March.
Yeah,
I'd just like to know what the club's
well, what we,
involvement will be.
yeah, usually what we do is we put an airplane out front, usually it's the 182. And we, have somebody out there manning it. A lot's gonna depend too. We've been pleading with the air show, or the air show committee, because we go to all the meetings anyhow. And what they did the last time is that they put the fence right down to bring people from where the cars are parked. And they put this big old fence across there, and even though we had our advertising and had big signs out front, nobody could get up there because they blocked everything off so nobody could walk up there. Finally, somebody did, a little bit further down, did open up a little bit of an area where people could walk up there. But people who are from the outside, or people that can be eligible through the Civil Air Patrol, they don't know, they didn't want to try to jump the fence to get over there and see us because they didn't know if they would get shot or not. But what we're trying to do is make sure that there is an opening. But what we do typically, and have done in the past, is that we open up the office and everything, and we have a special thing in there that tells exactly what it is to join the club. We actually have retirees that show up there. And then we have also, of course, people who are in the Civil Air Patrol or not, but yes, they will find out about it because we tell them about it. But yeah, we open up the place and let them see our 182. Sometimes, we have done a T-34 in the past. A lot depends on just, we need people to just to let you heads up now, is that we do need people to volunteer for it, because it's really a good way to be part of the air show, because you will get a pass to be able to park in a special place near the Aero Club. And believe me, we can use your help, because there's sometimes, especially when the air show is towards the end of the day, that's when people start showing up at the club. Because during the day, they want to see the airplanes, they want to be out there on the air show. But when they start walking to go to their cars, we'll get 20, 30 people in that office in there. And then Bob and I alone just can't handle that. We gotta have help. We actually put tables out front with pamphlets and stuff.
Because our day starts at 7 a.m. That means we're up about 5:30 to get started again. So we're here at 7, and sometimes we're out of here at 6 at night. It's a long day for us. And anybody that can come in and help is really appreciative.
Okay, anybody else?
Well, Roger, I don't want to break with tradition and blocking the Aero Club in, so I'm going to have the fence line put up the way it was every year. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I figured. Now, see, that's the wrong thing to say when you're in a room with.
It's okay. We have the fence line planned to put around your car so you can't leave.
Oh, yeah, well, that might be. I know, I've had that happen to me. Okay, all right, so that's it. Okay. This is the Aero Club. Well, this is the people who are on staff, or whatever you want to call it. You got Bob Pierce, John Law, who's our chief pilot. Raise your hand, John, in case they don't know who you are. Okay, Jerry Rollis. Jerry. What?
You got RHO.
Oh, I knew I did that, I
Well, he
did
makes
that.
mistakes too on the thing, so it's an even.
Well, I know, you make your errors, and so I make,
We'll just go direct on the check, that's all.
yeah, that's a, okay, Garrett Carlson, who's not here, but he's still with us, even though he's got a job with a smaller airline, he's still keeping his students, he wants to see the students he's got right now to their end of, when they get their licenses, and that includes Sam. Okay, so, come on, he's not here, but he'll watch it. Okay, then Randy Ball, he's the T-34. He's the formation dude. And then you got David G. Come on, David. And then Tony Davis. Tony is our IA, so he inspects David's stuff. So if he sees something wrong, then David tells him, well, no, it's not wrong. This is what's right. That time, anyhow. He's the one that can sign off the airplanes. Oh dear. Okay, there's me, and I take care and John Reed, our ops officer, which doesn't look like he's here. But for those of you who know John, you must be a clearing official. So John is the guy that's in charge of all that. John and I used to fly together in the Air Force, and the day he joined the club, he became our ops officer. And he said, I feel like I'm being railroaded. And I said, yeah, you are. But I knew he'd be a good ops officer, and he really is. He's proven to be just exactly that. I would have asked Ward Massey to do that, but Ward's too busy. Okay. This is just kind of what I said at the beginning. We're just doing a quick review. This is just an overview. There are many, many hundreds of thousands of places that could have gone with this. We got the 34-117, which is the Air Force regulation, and then we got our SOPs, and then we got our policies that we have here internally in the Aero Club. We are just kind of doing an overview of some of this stuff. It's impossible to necessarily sit there and keep up with everything that's going on in the Aero Club, but that's why we have the SOPs. And then the personal information files. The personal information file, the PIFs, are supposed to be kind of a fill-in on things that are not in the regulation yet. The problem is I don't get a whole lot of things from Aero Club headquarters. It used to be that whenever there was an Aero Club accident, I would get the reports, and then I would put it into the PIF. We really don't get a whole lot of those, and part of that is because we haven't had a whole lot of accidents in the Aero Clubs lately, which is a good thing. That's the funny thing about it. They want to get rid of Aero Clubs, and yet Aero Clubs are one of the safest clubs around. So, because of the fact that we are associated with the Air Force. Today we've got the Wings program now, and we've got, all these things that the FAA are producing, unlike it was 20 years ago, even 10 years ago. The Aero Club meeting was the place to be if you wanted to keep up on safety. But now, we've got it everywhere. It's all around us. So there really is no excuse to not fly safe or not know what's going on. There's just too many things happening unless you're totally not into computers or anything like that. Then you're kind of in trouble anyhow. So, okay. All right, just a real quick note on insurance. I brought this up only because every time I have somebody join the club, they always ask me about insurance. Now, the airplanes themselves are not insured here. They're owned by the Air Force. There is zero value on the airplane. Okay? The insurance that we pay out of our dues at the Aero Club is based on liability. In other words, if there's an accident and something happens, if you crash into a house or something, then the insurance is supposed to pay for that and any damage to our people getting hurt or killed. That's what the insurance is for us. Now, I've had many people ask me, should they get rentals insurance? Well, you probably should. It's not something that you have to do. I can tell you, the last time we had any kind of a situation where an individual messed up an airplane out of pure negligence was about 11 years ago. And that was 35 Foxtrot. And that was the one, I know many of you, I was going to put it up there, but then I got so busy with other things. But it's the one where you see, I had pictures of it where the plane's sitting up on its left wing. And what the guy did is that he taxied out, and the winds were gusting up, I think it was like 35 knots, but they were going straight down the runway, and this is in New Mexico. And he thought, oh, well, shoot, it's right down the runway, I can just take right off right into the wind. The problem was is that he had to taxi out there. And so, you know, yeah. And so needless to say, when he tried to make that turn to get onto the runway, the wind caught that right wing and started lifting the airplane up. And then, of course, he did another thing, too. He stepped on the brakes at the same time. Well, when you're in a tricycle gear, guess what's going to happen? That thing just went right like that. So it dinged the left wing tip and dinged the prop, which necessitated an engine change. Okay. The Aero Club did not make him pay for a new engine, but what he ended up doing is having to use his equipment to get the new engine out there, his truck basically, to haul the new engine out, and then he did have to pay for a mechanic to fly to Denver and rent a car to come down to the place where it was at. And that's the expense that he had to pay for. Now, the Aero Club can charge for a new engine. They could do that. But typically, you know, we usually have, well, must be an F-18. The F-16's been doing a lot of flying out here. So, you know, it could happen. But, you know, we've had ding wingtips. We had one kid. Matter of fact, he was you know, out here, and he ran the right wing into a fence. We did make him pay for that, or his parents. You know, it wasn't that expensive. But, you know, when it starts getting into higher amounts, you know, AOPA does have a good insurance for renters. And so, you know, if you feel uncomfortable about that. Now, Bob and I have been here for 12 years. I've only seen that one accident in 35 Foxtrot and this one guy who ran the wingtip into the fence. The rest of the time hasn't been really anything. That's out of negligence, okay? This is what this is talking about. The regulation says out of negligence. In other words, it's out of you doing something stupid, literally. Dave.
Master Roger, what is the Air Force insurance that we're covered? The aircraft is covered. What does that cover? Does it cover much of anything?
Well, it just only covers just liability, and I'm not really sure what the amounts are.
There's two types of insurance. One is the liability insurance, which is a monthly charge. It's $320 for a 4-seater for 1 month, and $213 for a 2-seater per month. That goes into the fund for at Randolph through all the Aero Clubs. All the Aero Clubs pay that in. Then on top of that, you can take out insurance on the aircraft, and it's based on per $1,000 a percentage, and that covers new engines, avionics, or anything else that would fail or you'd be covered. So actually, we'll just give you an example. I have aircraft insurance covering damage to my airplane, and if I wreck that airplane, they will pay, and when I say they, it's the Aero Club system will take and reimburse the Aero Club for the cost of the engine, or the aircraft if they bought it outright. Now, this has happened twice to Edwards, and they've had a couple accidents out there due to winds. So they end up being reimbursed for the engine, and of course, as depreciation takes place, the less money is being paid out. But I just find at this particular point of time that the cost to the Aero Club is marginal. And I say marginal is that our costs, we can't really afford the cost as of this time. So we're gambling at, what's going to take place. The aircraft has zero value itself, except for avionics and the engine. And can the Aero Club absorb $20,000 on a used engine or $15,000 on a used engine? That's what I'm betting on. We can absorb that little small cost if there was a decent accident. The liability will pay for damages often over and above the aircraft. In other words, if it's a building a car or a personal liability, and there's a lawsuit in regards to injury, they cover that. But your individual renter's insurance runs anywhere from $200 to $300 a year, and it's pretty reasonable. Some people have taken it out. I think the Coopers took it out when they were flying here. So that's the two types of insurance we have.
So, if you want in renter's insurance, AOPA does have a good renter's insurance. I don't know how many here belong to AOPA. A good portion of you, yeah. I am a great believer in the fact that if it had been for AOPA, that general aviation would be pretty much put on the back shelf here in this country. Just about every nation in the entire world, it's so expensive, only the rich can afford it. This is one of the few nations that can actually, we as regular people can afford to fly an airplane. And I think AOPA has been a great asset to that. Okay, any questions? Okay, safety meetings. Most of you pretty much know this. We provide a safety meeting once a month. The Air Club has the authority to satisfy the requirements for safety meeting attendance. And that's all outlined in 34-117. Members who miss 3 or more consecutive meetings must attend a safety meeting or participate in a face-to-face meeting with a safety officer of the Aero Club. And that includes the manager too, before they can regain their flying. You are expected to be at the meeting. That's how Air Force views it. Air Force simply says, we don't want to hear, I just didn't feel like showing up. Now that's for people that's an active flyers, We do have a lot of people that never show up to this meeting, but they also never fly too. We'll take their dues, we'll gladly, and that's, believe it or not, it's their dues that really do help keep us going. So that's something that has to be done. But like I said, the Wings program, since they've come out with that, I think you'd be a fool not to go to those too. And I think, if you weren't in an Aero Club, having to go to a meeting like this, that's what the general public or general aviation has out there, is those safety meetings. And if you've been to any of them, there's a lot of people that show up for those things. I know people that have not joined this Aero Club because you have to go to safety meetings. And I just flat out look at them and says, well, you're a bigger fool than I thought. I just, because they're an Air Force pilot and they just don't want to have nothing to do with this kind of stuff. So it's just nuts. It's insane to me because what big deal, It's also where you get the camaraderie. Here we got the camaraderie. If you're in general aviation on the outside and don't belong to anything, the only place you're going to get that fellowship with other pilots is through safety meetings and Wings programs and things like that. So, this is basically how it goes if you miss a safety meeting. And most of you should know this, but I had to put it up there right in the middle is the safety meeting that you missed. There's 3 ways to get it made up. You've got down in the lower left-hand corner, you can watch on YouTube. If you watch it on YouTube at home, then you do have to take a 10-question quiz because the Air Force wants to see proof from me that you really did watch it. Okay, that's all that quiz is for. If you watch the YouTube, then you will pass the test. Okay, if you take that YouTube and watch it on the screen right there in front of me, then you don't have to worry about taking the test because I watched you do it. On the lower right-hand corner, you got a DVD. Now, we have not been keeping up on the DVDs because the
Missed
guy...
1 month. 1 month. Forgot to do 1 month.
That's 1 month, yeah. But anyhow, there should be DVDs up there that you can watch it there too, okay? And then on top, you've got face-to-face. And that, I have authorized all instructors and to be able to do the face-to-face. And most all the instructors know how to get into the admin part of it. Okay, now if you miss 3 meetings, okay, that means if you missed 2 meetings and you briefed them, in other words, you watched the YouTube or the DVD, you can sign yourself off on the computer. You do not need an administrator to get on the FTP program to do it. When you go and open up your page on the FTP program, you just click on Flyers. When you click on Flyers, it'll take you on a screen, that first folder that's in there, and it says right there, Safety Meeting. And the little button next to Safety Meeting will be highlighted in blue. When it's highlighted in blue, you just click on that, and it will say, Update Safety Meeting for this month, and you click Yes, and you're updated. It's all predicated on the fact that you've done something to make that meeting up. It's an honor system, okay? You can do that for 2 meetings, okay? If you miss the 3rd meeting, let's say you did brief, and then you missed the 3rd one, and so you go in, you brief, because you do still need to watch the DVD or the YouTube, but on that one, you can clear yourself. You hit the blue button, it will clear you. But if you try to take an airplane, it will not let you do that. Because if you missed that 3rd one where you did not attend, you're grounded until you actually attend another meeting, actually physically be there. You must be there 1 and 3. You've got to be there at least once every 3 months. Now, how we get by that for here, since this is a reserve base, not everybody lives in the local area, we do face-to-face, okay? And that's where if you come out, either I can do it, Bob can do it, any one of the instructors can do it. I will do it on the telephone if I'm not in the office, okay? I've done it a couple of times. Randy and I have done it a couple of times where he's called me up, and I just, and we talk about the safety meeting. The reason why they want you to be at a safety meeting is because they want you to be able to ask questions if you have a question. That is the reason why they want you to be there. So you can do the same thing when you're just doing it on the telephone or if you're doing it face to face. However, the thing is that the computer, if I'm not there, you have to have an administrator get into the computer to clear you to fly. Because the computer will not clear you to take the airplane until you have an attendant on that one meeting. So you're going to have to find somebody, usually, so like if it's a holiday or a weekend, unless that clearing authority is somebody like John or somebody like that, you might be up the creek. Just think a little bit ahead. If you know that you reached that 3rd meeting, then you need to be there when one of us is there to clear you out of the computer. Okay? Any confusions? Any questions? Sam, I can
The
tell you
disadvantage with face-to-face, it takes an hour of our time. So it really kind of limits us, that's why we really don't like to do face-to-face.
Well, the face-to-face thing is as basic as that, to do it in just a minute. Doc Gerber and I just did it this afternoon when he came in, and I just, he didn't even take the test. I just asked him, I just asked him to tell me about the meeting, and he told me exactly what happened. And so we cleared him. So it's not as difficult as we try to make it be. Any questions? Okay, let's see, this is what I just talked about, you can clear yourself. And down at the bottom again, being able to clear your missed meeting as soon as you actually did watch the DVD or the YouTube. And of course, if you did a face-to-face, then obviously we know you did it. Okay. Okay, now, we do have things, and this is under safety also, is the fact that there's special airport checks that we do have to do in the Aero Club that the SOPs say, and also as the 117 says, if there's some kind of unusual situation of an airport, then it needs to have a separate checkout. I used to think that, gee, we were kind of restrictive until I found out that almost every FBO here in Southern California also, they're even more restrictive in a lot of ways than we are. Catalina, I thought, well, gee, really? And then I found out that they don't even some of the FBOs won't even let their airplanes go to Catalina at all. So I just went, holy smoke, okay. So here, what you got, high-density airports, like Burbank, John Wayne, Long Beach, Los Angeles, requires a checkout, especially if you've not operated a general aviation aircraft under VFR conditions. And of course, that's just about everybody, and of course, all the students, that come in here basically do that. I think the students here at March are probably the most fortunate pilots to learn how to fly right here in this area. Because I'm telling you, they go anywhere else, it's all, smooth as silk. Here, you've got the traffic, and you've got to put up with it, and you learn how to fly an airplane in high-density area. And unless you go to Washington, D.C. or New York, for the most part, it's easy everywhere else. So, and that goes even for IFR. Of course, in IFR, if you go into a place where there's no ATC, then you get the rude awakening that you got to do procedures. And believe me, I had a couple of friends of mine that did John Anderson when he went up to Idaho that time for a couple of years, and he had to fly, and he came back and said, holy smoke, he says, everything was all on, you had to know the procedures, because there was no ATC jockeying you around. You had to know what you were doing. So,
You may want to include El Monte and Fullerton too, also in that same area, high density.
well, okay, we need to add that to the SOPs.
Just an idea.
Yeah.
Just an idea.
Okay, other checks. Mountain flying. Okay, prior to a solo flight over mountains, train Aero Club aircraft, each piloting member must review Aero Club video on mountain flying, which is on a DVD now. Complete the open book exam on mountain flying and record it on the 1584. And in order for the Aero Club men to operate aircraft in and around airports located in high terrain, i.e. Big Bear, you also have to go up there with an instructor, and it must be annotated on a 1584. Right, John? Okay. Yeah.
Does that include going through the pass? Just going through the pass?
There was much discussion with that, and it has to do, there is on the regulation, it does talk about how close you get to the mountains. There is an altitude involved with that.
I think the regulation basically was, the concept was landing at high altitude airports.
Yeah, that's the concept of that. The way it reads, it makes it sound like you can't even fly over the mountains at all. And I don't agree with that, I don't think that's what it's saying. I just think what it is saying, if you don't wanna be mountain flying. In other words, like we do in the Civil Air Patrol. Civil Air Patrol, you're flying right down into the canyons and doing that kind of stuff. If you're just flying from point A to point B, i.e. Las Vegas or Apple Valley or someplace like that, you fly over the mountains and then you're landing someplace else. But if you're going to be doing anything around the mountains where you're actually flying in the mountains, like Civil Air Patrol does, then you do need, even if you don't land, you do need to have a checkup, because now you're talking about mountain waves and a lot of that kind of stuff. You need to know that kind of thing.
That's what's covered here in the video. It's operating within high terrain. But if you wait going further down, they're talking about landing at high density altitudes. And you gotta look at density altitude, so that's why the checkout goes into the airports at high altitudes. We always fly at high altitude anyway. So all you have to be aware of if you're flying in the mountains is what Roger's saying, that is mountain waves, gusts, crossing ridge lines, and what kind of weather or terrain you're gonna anticipate due to winds. So there's two concepts in this one area.
Yeah. So, mountain flying is fun. It can be, but it can also be dangerous too. Okay, Catalina. And again, 1584 has got to be filled out for that too. And a lot has to do because the thing sits right up on the edge of a cliff. And of course there's that bow that's in the middle. Since we're not flying in a jet, I don't think we have to worry too much about that, because a lot of jets will get in there and then think they're running off the end of the runway. And then they try to stop and they don't have enough runway and they go off the end. Okay, night flying. Night flying, initial night checkout in category and class. Night means the time between official sunset and official sunrise as given by the March weather station. Now, of course, there's a lot of ways you can check it. You can check it under weather, on your cell phones. You can do it right now. You can see what the official is, but that's what the official is. For night landings, plan your landing on runways 32 and 14. They will not let you go into 30. Currency is 3 takeoffs and landings to a full stop, okay, with the previous 90 days.
So what you can do is you can do a stop and go on 3-2 because it's a lighted runway.
Yes.
30 is not lighted, it's illegal at night.
And then you got to taxi back and do another one. Now, of course, if you land on 3-2, you could almost stop in the middle of the runway and take off again and land again. Now, but don't do that unless, because they might get upset.
So Roger, you're saying though, as soon as sunset hits, I can do my 3 landings and you guys are good?
That's gotta be